Maritime Interdiction and Visit, Board, Search, and Seizure Capacity Building. This group includes all the courses aiming to train the command and boarding teams to plan and conduct maritime interdiction and visit, board, search, and seizure of a merchant ship in accordance with NATO doctrines and procedures. Course 1000. Command Team Maritime Interdiction Operation Issues assist command team personnel in proficient conduct of maritime interdiction operations through the use of common standards. Course 2000, Boarding Team Theoretical Issues, applies safe and efficient NATO doctrines and procedures in maritime interdiction operations. Course 3000, Boarding Team Practical Issues, trains boarding team personnel how to conduct boarding operations in the framework of maritime interdiction operations through the common NATO tactics, techniques, and procedures. Course 4000, Final Tactical Exercise, evaluates crew's performance as a whole in safely and successfully applying NATO doctrines and procedures in maritime interdiction operations through the execution of a tailored, mission-specific exercise. Preservation of freedom of navigation, addressing the training needs in NATO's commitment to protect vital sea lines of communication and maintain freedom of navigation. Course 7000, Maritime Interdiction Operations in Support of Counter-Piracy, enhances the overall pre-deployment training level as well as pre-deployment theoretical and practical training in the framework of regional capacity building. Fight against terrorism, training the maritime forces in their role to contribute to the Alliance's counter-terrorism efforts with the following products. Course 8000, Counter-Improvised Explosive Devices Considerations in Maritime Force Protection, provides an holistic and comprehensive approach to understanding a much-changed security landscape by covering the operational and tactical issues related to asymmetric threats in the maritime environment when alongside, at anchor, or operating in confined waters. Course 12000, Counter-Improvised Explosive Devices in Maritime Interdiction Operations, educates and trains boarding team personnel in NATO tactics, techniques, and procedures to undertake expedient weapons intelligence tasks on board vessels and other maritime infrastructure in support of counter-improvised explosive devices operations. Course 14000, Maritime Improvised Explosive Device Disposal, educates and trains qualified explosive ordnance devices personnel to competently undertake maritime improvised explosive device disposal operations on board vessels and other maritime infrastructure in support of counter-improvised explosive devices or other maritime operations. Course 18000, Maritime Biometrics Collection and Tactical Forensic Site Exploitation, enhances training of operational officers and units in biometrics and forensics. The course trains military and law enforcement personnel on biometrics and forensics collection using electronic biometrics devices and proper forensic collection materials and procedures. Course 20000, Maritime Interdiction Operations in Support of Managing Perilous Security Incidents on Coastal Critical Sites, contributes to the protection of critical maritime infrastructure and to provide a series of planning considerations to conduct joint civil or military operations involving critical maritime infrastructure assets. Course 23000, Weapons Intelligence Team Supplement in the Maritime Environment, conducts weapons intelligence team tasks by NATO nations and 7 non-NATO nations personnel in the maritime environment. Course 27000, Maritime Sniper Course, is conducted by instructors of the International Special Training Center Sniper Section and provides the opportunity to conduct sniper shooting from moving land, maritime, and airborne platforms against immobilized and moving floating targets. Fight against the proliferation of nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction, training NATO maritime forces and maintaining their ability to undertake the full range of maritime interdiction missions, which include the prevention of transport and deployment of weapons of mass destruction. Course 6000, Weapons of Mass Destruction in Maritime Interdiction Operations, covers issues related to countering weapons of mass destruction materials proliferation in the maritime environment. The course enhances personnel or units' readiness prior to deployment regarding operational and tactical dimensions of weapons of mass destruction in maritime interdiction operations. Course 28,000, Radiological Search in Maritime Operations, is delivered in cooperation with subject matter experts from the United States Department of Energy and the National Nuclear Security Administration at NMIOTC. The course provides participants with specialized training for radiological emergency preparedness and response operations in the maritime environment. Maritime interdiction and illicit trafficking at sea, addressing the training needs related to the full range of maritime interdiction missions, including the evolving migrant and refugee flows and the illicit trafficking. Course 10,000, Maritime Interdiction Operations in Support of Countering Illicit Trafficking at Sea, provides quality, sustainable, and effective training for officers who are engaged in policy development, law enforcement, intelligence, and interdiction operations aimed at countering illicit trafficking and other crimes at sea. Course 13,000, Command Team Issues in Maritime Interdiction Operations in Support of International Efforts to Manage the Migrant and Refugee Crisis at Sea, prepares the command team of a naval unit in order to fulfill the unit's specific tasks related to operations to assist law enforcement agencies with the refugee and migrant crisis at sea. Course 15,000, Migrant Handling Team Issues in Maritime Interdiction Operations in Support of International Efforts to Manage the Migrant and Refugee Crisis at Sea, delivers the appropriate knowledge and practical skills to members of the Migrant Handling Team of a naval unit in order to prepare them to fulfill the unit's specific tasks related to operations to assist law enforcement agencies with the refugee and migrant crisis at sea. Countering hybrid and cyber threats in the maritime domain, training maritime forces to improve maritime security for countering the emerging security challenges such as the evolving hybrid and cyber threats at sea. Course 19,000, Cybersecurity Aspects in Maritime Operations, contributes adequately to the knowledge of the cyber risk for the maritime environment, providing the basic principles, knowledge, and framework for the maritime staff officers in order to apply cyber resilience together with situational awareness, business continuity plan, and risk management. Maritime Defense Capacity Building. This courses group provides training to ally and partner countries to increase interoperability and strengthen resilience in the maritime defense and security capacity building. Course 5000, Maritime Operational Terminology course, familiarizes personnel and staff officers in maritime operations terminology and explains operational procedures in order to prepare them to take part in NATO-led maritime operations and exercises. Course 16,000, Maritime Aspects of Joint Operations, familiarizes personnel and staff officers who serve in joint headquarters and have minimal to no naval background with the main aspects of the maritime domain. Course 25,000, Drafting, Production, and Maintenance of NATO Standards, provides comprehensive knowledge so that participants will be able to initiate, develop, deliver, and maintain NATO standardization documents in accordance with NATO procedures. Maritime Medical Response. This group of trainings aims to fill the performance gap regarding the on-site treatment of casualties, particularly during maritime operations. Course 21,000, Medical Combat Care in Maritime Operations, applies evidence-based and life-saving tactical combat care knowledge and practical skills in order to improve survivability on the battlefield. Course 26,000, Tactical Emergency Care for First Responders in Maritime Operations, provides basic knowledge and skills in delivering necessary pre-hospital care with limited equipment and in confined spaces. The course qualifies first responders to assist medical personnel to provide more complicated medical assistance and deal effectively with a mass casualty situation. Enhanced training's capabilities. Training opportunities to support additional professional development and to maintain the trainer's or instructor's expertise at the highest possible level. Course 17,000, Train the Trainer's Technical Instructor course, familiarizes staff officers with transmitting and certifying pedagogical knowledge, and enhances presentation and speaking skills.